Well, hello, Sofa Squad viewers. We are back here for another review. This is going to be another Netflix true crime documentary review. This is on the Idaho 4 case. The official name is the Idaho Murders College Nightmare. I've got my notes on my phone right here. Okay, so this is the case. It's November 13th, 2022. This is when the four students, Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, were absolutely brutally murdered inside their house. They are all standing there, college vibes, all that. Okay, so this is in Moscow, Idaho. Eventually, Brian, sorry about the dogs barking in the background. This is Brian Koberger. He will eventually become the suspect in this, and he will eventually end up pleading guilty and getting a life sentence. And that's what's been going on since then. So that's the quick synopsis of it, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about this in two ways because a lot of times here I'll be like, well, I won't do spoiler alerts or this or that. It's kind of hard to do that with some of these true crime things, especially one like this Netflix documentary, because there's not really a gotcha moment with it, right? And this is also very, 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 very popular. Okay. And I'm talking about the case in general, not necessarily this Netflix doc. So let's just talk about some of the strong points and then some of the weak points of it before we talk specifics about the case. All right. So, first of all, there are so many documentaries out in this case now. And there's two versions of this case. There's people who followed it as it unfolded on the internet and court documents and rabbit holes that all happened, all the things, right? Then there's people who didn't hear of it and they just heard about it in documentaries and news and whatnot. And then there's also people who never heard of it until it came out on Netflix recently. So here's my take on it. What I liked good about it is that this focuses more on the victims and their family members and their friends speaking for them and remembering them and getting to know them than it does the oddities of Brian Koberger. Okay. Now, it also goes into the investigation process, but if you know anything about the case and you followed it, you'll know this is a very like broad stroke across it, right? There's lots of why didn't they say this or why didn't they talk about that or that type stuff, okay? So there's that. If you are completely unfamiliar with this documentary, then I'm like, oh yeah, by all means you need to watch this. Now that being said, I'm somebody that if a new documentary comes out about a case I'm interested in, most likely I'm going to watch it. Have I seen every Brian Koberger documentary? No, because there's lots of stuff going on with that. But that being said, I'm gonna watch it anyways, right? Whether it's like, this isn't good, or there's no new information. I like some of the new body cam stuff we saw, and again, I liked hearing from the victims' parents, their friends, and learning more about them. Now, where it goes astray, let's say, or left field, is how much it leaves out. And I understand that with these documentaries, you can't sit here and put every little detail in, right? But some of the stuff could have really been a little bit more explained, even with just like a sentence or two. And, they'll just kind of drop these things. Oh, all the students wanted the house torn down and we got all the evidence we needed from it. So we tore it down. It's like, okay, was there a little bit more to that? Because now with the turn of events, we're seeing, we might have needed that house to be up, right? And we'll talk about that, some updates in a minute. There's things like that that just kind of made you say, huh? And again, depending on how deep you went down the rabbit hole, it leaves a lot of questions for, well, if this didn't happen, then what about that? And if this was that, then what about this? Right. Um, and so there's that. But again, what I think can be the catalyst for that or what it causes is for people who are truly that interested to then go look it up and be like, well, let me go look this case up. You see where I'm going with that? So to just the regular true crime connoisseur, yes, absolutely, you're going to like this. If you have been following this from day one, there's nothing new here, right? Period. End of story. There's nothing new here. You're not going to see much more. Yes, you're getting fresh interviews from the parents, whatnot, but you've heard it before, that kind of a thing. Now, that being said, and we'll revisit again just my thoughts in general on Netflix documentaries, things of this nature. Okay, let's revert or scoot over here to other things that happen. Now, as we've learned, with this case, and what surprised me so much is like watching this and then seeing how many people were so new to it, they didn't like realize, oh, Brian just did his own little post conviction relief thing and like wrote a handwritten letter saying, wait a minute, I was lied to. I thought this would happen. I want a new trial. I don't care if the death penalty is on the table this time, all the things. Okay. So we filed a motion leading up to this, which I think the timing is very interesting and it makes me curious about that. Could be a coincidence. I don't know. All right, but he filed this motion basically seeking post conviction relief. Now, remember, when you plea out like this, you're basically giving your rights up to all this stuff. But in this, he is saying, I was led to believe that this is what death row would look like. So, I was basically coerced into pleading guilty to a crime I didn't commit. And there's other evidence that's come up with, a random hair found. I want my day in court. I don't care if the death penalty's on the table now, et cetera, et cetera. Following on the heels of that which was way more interesting to me, was an interview hosted by Brian Enton. Brian Enton is a reporter. He has his own YouTube channel as well. And he had on, and I'm going to say it wrong, it's like Cy Ray, who was a former defense expert for Brian Kohberger's team. He worked for them. And Brian Enton had him on and some family members of the victims. And basically, this guy was like, no, after looking at all this stuff, I came to the conclusion that Brian did this. He's right where he needs to be. And obviously not working for the defense. And some bombshell stuff was he was like, the longitude, latitude put Brian in the house, in the Idaho house where the kids were, multiple times leading up to the murders. Right? We can trace his phone and see that he was constantly going there to shop and buy stuff and do this and do that. I've heard from people that that's normal for that area. I'm not from there though. But then all of a sudden that stopped after the murders took place. So it was kind of like really new information that we hadn't heard, especially about him claiming that Brian's been in the house. That was way more of like a kind of thing. But remember, all this took place in the same, all three of these things happened like with days apart. I get they have to make the documentary, and that's a whole other thing. One of the questions that I have, not question, but just thoughts is, so when they do a documentary, and again, this one was mostly on the victims and whatnot. So I don't see them being like, hey, Brian, do you and your people want to be in this? But maybe they asked his parents. My point being, I wonder if Brian had knowledge this was coming out and he timed that for around this time to be like, I'm going to do this post conviction thing. You see what I'm saying? Um, and then, of course, the Brian Enton thing was just, again, it's just, this is all happening or whatever. So he probably lined that up to take place. That being said, and we'll keep it short for this channel here, just because this is like a quick review type channel. I'm doing a deeper dive for my main true crime channel over there, and I'll go into more details and thoughts. Here's the thing with Netflix, and we're going to circle back around a full circle here. Here's the thing with Netflix true crime documentaries. They have a pattern that they do, and it's usually circled around a whodunit vibe. Think Stephen Avery. Think the one that we just did, whatever love story, a toxic love story, all these things like that. The crash, the catfish mom, whatever. It's this kind of gotcha moment with them, which I like and appreciate. Okay, to me at this point, Netflix documentaries feel like McDonald's, no, double cheeseburger, quarter pounder meal with fries, large Coke, put it in the bag, drive forward. You see what I'm saying? It's a formula, very just run of the mill, whatever. Do I like them? Absolutely. Are they entertaining? Of course. But there's not much substance to it. And then when you look beneath them, it's like, whoa, there's so much more information. Now, again, I'm not faulting the directors and the creators of these, but I feel like they have a very specific formula. And it's kind of like for people who might have followed the case. Also, that being said, Netflix is very big on kind of curating a lot of true crime content creators. Think Stephanie Sue, Small Town Murders, I think is another one. These faces that we're seeing on YouTube, Netflix is like curating them for their own exclusive podcast over there and whatnot. So true crime content is huge, obviously, and I feel like Netflix realizes this and they kind of go after a very specific thing. I felt like this documentary did not fit that narrative because it wasn't like a whodunit. It was geared towards to me, in my opinion, the victim stories and like a broad brush of the case in general. And so for that, I appreciated that part. So that being said, definitely watch it if you're new to the case and you enjoy it. If you're somebody who's done it and you had two options tonight, it was like, do I have to watch this or a brand new thing? I'd say watch a brand new thing, right? It's just there's not that much there to make it really jump out to you. But again, put it on your playlist at some point because it is interesting. And of course, we'll sit back and see what happens with all the other developments, and we'll of course follow those on my true crime channel. So let me know what you're watching. I did see, side note, I'll do a thing on this. There's a new serial killer. There's a new Israel Keys, and I say documentary, but it's like a season and a show that covers these, and it's 4 episodes, but it's on him. And I cannot think of the name right now, but I'll do a review on it. Probably the next one I do. But it was, I mean, I watched half of episode 1 and I was like, it's good. It's on Hulu. So if you just go Google it right now, new Israel Keys thing, it'll come. It's like Wild One or something like that. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you're watching in the comment section. Let me know if there's another thing you want to watch or review. And then we'll do that. And I'll see you back here on the sofa for the next video.